He thinks he's cute. He knows he's sexy. He'll get the click to get his colleagues fired. Yes, it's time we talked about Shawn Michaels. The Heartbreak Kid, the showstopper, arguably the greatest in-ring performer of all time, and at times, wrestling's biggest arsehole. Blurring the lines between kayfabe and shoot time and again, Michaels was a sensitive talent who made his fair share of enemies in the ring and in the locker room. But regardless of how he was feeling on his day, Michaels was magic with everyone he faced off against. Want proof? Well, I'm Sam Driver from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 best Shawn Michaels feuds. Join us. Number 10, John Cena. Heading into WrestleMania 23, WWE Champion John Cena had never faced a sterner test than Mr. WrestleMania himself. In the lead up to the granddaddy of them all, Cena and HBK had a fragile alliance. The two did lift the WWE tag titles, but HBK wanted the WWE title again, a belt that he'd not held since 1998. Cena was still pretty raw in ring at this time, but the two clicked wonderfully, going for nearly 30 minutes in the main event before Big Match John got the big match win with the STFU. Michaels wasn't gonna take this loss lying down, and several weeks later the two would go again, wrestling for an hour in London, with Michaels getting the win in one of Raw's greatest ever matches. The two would meet again at Backlash 2007 in a fatal four-way, with Cena retaining the WWE title despite eating Sweet Chin Music. And the two would clash again, but once again Cena would leave victorious, successfully defending the WWE title against DX at Survivor Series 2009. Number 9, Vince McMahon. After a life of being a bit of a prick, Shawn Michaels found God and completely cleaned up his act. Vince McMahon, being a lunatic, used it as an excuse to feud with Michaels and God. Because why not, eh? Vince wasn't buying the fact that Shawn was a reformed man and wanted to knock him down a few pegs, threatening to screw Shawn like he did Bret. Cue Vince attempting to screw Shawn, first by calling for the bell during a no-holds-barred match between HBK and Shane O'Mac, then having the entire Spirit Squad batter Shawn on the reg. This all led up to a street fight between Shawn and Vince at WrestleMania 22, which ended with a bin-wearing Vince eating a massive elbow drop through a table. Lunatic. Things got weirder at Backlash when Shawn Michaels and God teamed up against Vince and Shane. The McMahons won this one. Of course. Eventually, Triple H joined in, and a reformed DX proceeded to trounce everyone involved while covering them in paint and poop and selling lots and lots of t-shirts. Number 8, Diesel. Needing backup as his stock increased, Shawn enlisted the giant Diesel to watch his back, and soon the two dudes with attitudes rolled over the WWE with a leather-gloved iron fist. The two reigned as tag champs, and Diesel held the Intercontinental Championship, but things fell apart when Michaels accidentally superkicked Diesel one too many times, costing Big Daddy Cool the IC title and causing the pair to forfeit the tag titles. Diesel didn't look back and soon won the WWE title in mere seconds after jackknifing Bob Backlund at a house show. HBK was incensed and determined to prove he could get to the top without Diesel's help, winning the 1995 Royal Rumble from the number 1 spot and setting up a showdown at WrestleMania 11. Shawn had his working boots on, allegedly intentionally trying to make Diesel look bad as a message to Vince McMahon to make HBK the face of the company. But Diesel would fell Michaels with a jackknife and walk off with the WWE title, Pamela Anderson and Melissa McCarthy. And a year later, they had another classic at Good Friends, Bitter Enemies. Number 7, Steve Austin. Despite propping the new generation up for most of the decade, the times they were a-changing, and it was clear that Steve Austin was the WWE's brightest star. Needing that first WWE title win to properly strap the rocket to his back, Austin won the '98 Rumble and set his sights straight on WWE champion Shawn Michaels. Michaels was a little overshadowed by DX's newest recruit Mike Tyson, but made sure all eyes were on him heading into WrestleMania 14, raising Austin's ire time and again, All this while dealing with a career-threatening back injury. Despite staring down the end of his in-ring career, HBK still wanted to prove that he was Mr. WrestleMania and didn't want anyone outshining him, allegedly not wanting to even do the job to Austin. After some encouragement from The Undertaker, Michaels pounced into Boston's Fleet Center for his last hurrah, but despite stacking the deck in his favor, Austin planted him with the Stone Cold Stunner to win the big one. Number 6. Marty Jannetty. Not long after making the jump from the AWA, the Rockers became one of the most beloved teams in the WWE. But after several years without winning any gold, cracks of course started to appear. The two took to Brutus Beefcake's barbershop to clear the air, but Michaels shocked the world by throwing Marty through a window and transformed into the Heartbreak Kid. Almost a year later, and HBK was Intercontinental Champion with the world at his feet, but Marty returned to get his revenge and Michaels' title. At Royal Rumble 93, the two clashed in a heated bout, but Michaels escaped with the gold and promptly got Marty legitimately fired. Mr. Perfect lobbied with WWE management to reinstate Jannetty, and Marty finally got revenge on Michaels, usurping him for the IC title on a May 93 edition of Raw with help from Perfect. Marty was finally out of Shawn's shadow for about 2 weeks, until HBK took the title back on a house show and kicked Marty to the curb once and for all. Number 5. Kurt Angle. When Shawn Michaels threw Kurt Angle out of the 2005 Royal Rumble, Angle snapped, savaged Michaels, and tried to break his ankle with the ankle lock. Angle wanted to prove that anything Michaels could do, Kurt could do better and faster. He battered Marty Jannetty just like Shawn. He won a ladder match just like Shawn. He hung around with Sherry just like Shawn, but Shawn could never win an Olympic gold medal, with or without a broken freaking neck. The two clashed at WrestleMania 21 in one of the greatest matches of all time. A technical masterclass by two of the greatest, with Sexy Kurt getting the win with the ankle lock. Michaels challenged Angle to round 2 at Vengeance, with HBK getting the win this time after Sweet Chin Music. Now tied 1 apiece, a rubber match was signed off in October, a 30-minute Iron Man match. When the time expired, the scores were tied at 2-2. Michaels demanded sudden death, but Angle walked out, and we never got a true decider. Number 4. Chris Jericho. As the most influential US-based wrestler of his generation, countless wrestlers based their style on Shawn Michaels, including Chris Jericho. Tired of being dubbed an HBK clone, Y2J wanted to prove that he was better than Michaels, but couldn't get the job done at WrestleMania 19. Jericho never forgot this defeat, and several years later reignited their feud in an extremely bloody manner by putting Michaels face first through the Jeritron 6000. At the Great American Bash, Jericho beat Shawn to a bloody pulp, the ref stopping the bout as a necessity. HBK considered retirement, but a gloating Jericho lit a fire under his chaps when he accidentally punched Shawn's wife Rebecca in the face. Now it was personal. At Unforgiven, the tables were turned. This time, HBK beat Jericho so badly that the match was called off. By the time No Mercy rolled around, Jericho was the World Heavyweight Champion and wanted to prove himself once and for all in the match that Michaels made famous, the ladder match. Jericho left with the title, if not all his teeth, his point proven. Number 3. The Undertaker. Shawn Michaels inadvertently cost The Undertaker the WWE title at SummerSlam 97 and signed his own death warrant, with Taker seeking revenge in the first ever Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood. Undertaker victimized Michaels, but a debuting Kane handed HBK the win. Shawn and Undy would fight again at Royal Rumble 98, and although Michaels suffered a legitimate career-ending injury, he escaped with the WWE title as Kane set Undertaker on fire. Brothers, eh? What are they like? 12 years later, and the two would cross paths again, with Michaels wanting one thing above everything else: The Undertaker's streak. The two old gunslingers put on the greatest match in Mania history, but it wasn't enough, as Michaels tasted defeat. Shawn wanted another shot, knowing he'd come achingly close, but Taker rebuffed him. After HBK cost Taker the World Heavyweight title at Elimination Chamber, Taker granted his wish, but HBK would have to put his career on the line. The two went to war once more, the result the same, as we bid farewell to the showstopper. Number 2. Triple H. When Michaels returned to WWE in 2002, it wasn't long until DX were back together. For about 10 seconds until Triple H planted HBK with a pedigree. Hunter claimed that he used Michaels to get to the top and, threatened by HBK's return, vowed to permanently retire him. The two battered each other at SummerSlam, HBK getting the win in his first match in 4 years, but things were only getting started. Trips would take Michaels out for several months with a sledgehammer attack, but Michaels would return at Survivor Series.
No.
Winning the World Heavyweight title in the first ever Elimination Chamber. Hunter would take the belt back at Armageddon after a hellacious 3 stages of hell match, and the two would pause their feud for the time being. Heading into WrestleMania 20, the two fought to a series of draws, but Chris Benoit would leave Mania with the gold as Michaels and Trips' blood feud continued. And after 2 years of carnage, Triple H got the final victory after nearly an hour inside Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood 2004. And number 1, oh, who could it be? It's Bret Hart! Shawn Michaels, the flamboyant showstopper. Bret Hart, the no-nonsense technician. In a politically charged WWE searching for its new flag bearer, the two were on a collision course based on personal hatred, jealousy, and exploding egos. HBK and Hitman had faced off over the years, especially in the tag division, but when Shawn won the '96 Royal Rumble and leapt into the main event, their relationship very quickly went downhill. After beating Bret for his first WWE title in an Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12, Shawn's influence backstage reached an all-time high, and Bret did not like it one bit. Heading into Mania 13, HBK lost his smile and forfeited the title rather than lose it to Bret, and the pair's genuine animosity spilled over onto television. Personal jabs, homophobic slurs, sunny days, nothing was off the table, leading to backstage brawls and bruised egos. Shawn would have the last laugh though. With Bret set to leave for WCW, HBK, Vince McMahon, and a few others concocted the infamous Montreal Screwjob, with Michaels reigning over Bret once and for all in controversial fashion. Who's your daddy, Montreal?